Good evening. The country has been in the grip of insecurity with a wave of robberies, murders, and office breaking, threatening to turn Uganda into a haven of crime. With the appointment of former spy czar, Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, as security minister, will he clean up the mess? On the spotlight is General Tumukunde himself. General Tumukunde, welcome to the show. You're on the spot tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara, and thanks for considering to have me here.
We considered to have you here for this reason. Recent attacks on security installations at the police stations and have caused some kind of a worry that the country could be sliding back into the clutches of armed rebellion. And could this cause, could it be predicted on the politics of the day?
First of all, I must say that we don't conduct business on TV screens. The business of intelligence is not conducted on TV screens. But since I'm now a political head of intelligence, I can find time to discuss these issues. Number one, the attacks are not many. We've had an attack, Gulu, which was pronounced. We've had something in Karisozo. I think there was some abductions in Nebi. Yumbe. And then the Congolese killing Ugandans on the Carbide. 4 incidents. Of course, this is not something you're about to compare, for example, with what happens in our neighborhood here, Kenya. Not really. However, no insecurity is small enough. It's always very important to tackle insecurity as it comes. These forms of insecurity are slightly different. The one of Lake Albert, I think, is about unresolved borderlines on the water. And that one, we are planning to sit with the Congolese and maybe use international bodies to establish where the borderlines of this, water falls. For Uganda, that is for. However, I want to send a signal to Congolese. This is not something they want to have as ranch. Yes, whether there is still dispute or not, killing Ugandans is not something we are about to take so lightly. We may be taking it, with caution and care to avoid, disrupting the security of the borderlines. However, let it be on record that this is not something we are going to take for quite a long while. Now, let's go to the issue.
When you say let it be on record, General, are you saying if this happens again, then there could be a hot pursuit? And then you cross the borderline?
I don't know if I must say it that directly, but it can't be repeated many times. You know very well that we do not allow such things to happen. So let this signal be very clear to whoever wants to consume it. Now, Yumbe, still border issues. I think the South Sudanese people have got what they call a border. We shall go and sort it out. Still, same signal. It's not correct to inconvenience or in any way deny lives to Ugandans. I think people must use more acceptable international means of dissolving border disputes.
So the case of Gulu, was it a robbery? Was it a rebellion? What was it? Because when you consider the amount of weapons that were used, I'm not a security person, but I'm inclined to think this is beyond just a mere thuggery. This is something organized with the command and control.
7 guns. Is that such a big something?
Yeah, but when you took on a military barracks more than almost 40 years ago, you were not
They
very many.
attacked a police station, not a military barracks, a police station. You see, these are hangovers of yesterday's, insurgency. People still believe if they cannot solve their own issues politically, they still have an opportunity of taking advantage of the armed groups and maybe a few arms which remained in the villages to resolve their political issues using, violence. One thing I always would want to pass on to any person who has got a serious political program. I read Munini as extract. I think resorting to violence at this particular time may not be very productive. In any case, what don't you and me know? You know what happened in Syria. Whoever started that Syria war, you know the implications, you know what is happening. I don't think if anybody was asked, whoever started it was asked to stop it today, if he had the capacity to stop it, he would stop it. Northern Uganda, where I was lucky to be their commander, and I was recently there campaigning, had become so amazingly peaceful. I mean, we campaigned there without weapons, and it was very good. Now, any leader who thinks he would want to reapply the old tactics, I would rather advise that nobody indulges in that.
But look, there was a pattern. About a year ago, there was an audacious attack or attempt on Umbuya military barracks, and some people were arrested. That's a pattern. Before that, you saw in Kapchorwa attack on police station. Before that, you saw Odit, I think LODU, they call it an LODU barracks, was attacked and somebody was killed. So this is a pattern. The thugs cannot just go for security installations and police.
It's always important to assess the magnitude of the attack. What was in Mbuya, you know it. There's very few people. I actually was surprised that they ever made any minimum impression. The attack on Guru was against a police station. I think Mbuya, these people were, fortunately they get captured. The captured ones were captured. I think somebody who said he had connections with having gone to school with one of our senior officers. We got them. The Mbuya, same thing, the same as the Guru. What usually matters in such kind of circumstances is, does security land the source of the problem? Once security lands the source of the problem, usually that marks an end to the problem. You know what was happening with insurgency here? We went to the heart of the matter. We got the financiers, we got... By the way, there is something I can also tell you which is never told to the public. Sometimes we know who is who, but sometimes we are not too sure that arresting such people is necessarily very productive. We leave them at peace.
Now,
as long as we deny them.
You have arrested one of your own, in fact about maybe 30 officers, including a lieutenant colonel. So doesn't that indicate that within the security apparatus, something is wrong?
What I know is that a lieutenant colonel was arrested. About the 30, I don't know about it. However, well, whenever there is a matter and there is uncertain, arresting, by the way, is just restricting for purposes of investigations. It doesn't necessarily mean you are necessarily a criminal, or it doesn't mean that all facts being attributed to you are necessarily proved or proven. So what do? We restrict you pending proper investigation. Restriction is just being proactive. You stop people from causing further chaos if this chaos is real. Or you also use it to restrain these people from further organizing. And also, most importantly, you make sure that you investigate them properly.
But is it also not an indication that some members of your own security organization, they're serving officers, probably they have gone rogue or they are renegade, because when you pick them up, then it means...
No. By the way, it's not, we are not even, I'm not too sure, and I don't think I have facts to the effect that there is truth in Dan Opito being a rebel, or, but sometimes this is just being proactive. You hold somebody, pain. The most important thing is he's held properly, he's not tortured, he's not harmed. And then when the investigations are over, I imagine Dan Opito will recirculate and he can go back to the forces, as many examples you know of. Yes, including some very senior ministers. It depends on the circle. But security is necessarily proactive. So you stop something, you then investigate. If you're investigating, leave something, but this thing flowing, you are not too sure. So the known format and formula is restrict, restrain, then investigate.
So what do you tell...
I am sure very soon you'll see Dan Opito in circulation if whatever was suspected of him is no longer... But I don't know about the 30. I didn't research with the forces about how many people were arrested. But I'm also an informed person. Maybe if there were 30, I would know.
So what do you tell the people in the Rwenzori who all of a sudden something happens and in a spark, in a day, 2 or 3 or 4 people or even 100 people could lose their lives? In fact, about last week, people woke up only to find bodies on the streets of Kasese. That continues to cause concern for the people there.
You see, Rwenzoris, first of all, there is a history of rebellion, ranging from the Rwenzori days. I'm sure you know it. And it's not their first time trying it on violence. Then recently, there was another situation where they've accompanied this history with different political views. I'm sure you know very well that Kasese general area turned out to different, members of parliament and other elected officials who are not of the ruling government.
Which is a victory for democracy.
It's very healthy.
It's
very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was about to say. It's very healthy to do that. However, should you start integrating this with violence, then matters change angle. Security will look at this matter from a completely different direction. Having different political views is extremely accepted. At least in my own case, I respect it immensely. But when you dress it up with violence, then the angle changes. For example, if I go to Kasese tomorrow, which I'm about to do, and I've been there before for the same reasons, I do not go to look at the activities of the opposition. I go to look at the activities of violence that causes loss of life. So, what would my advice be? To the people of Kasese, if they have any strong views on some matters, my main advice is that they need to come up and discuss them. Because I could also reiterate this position, Mr. Kamara, when people caused violence in Syria, who paid? Who is paying?
The ordinary citizens.
When violence was caused in Libya, who is paying? When something erupted in Burundi, what happened? When in history things have happened in Kasese, whose life goes? We need to look at some of these things. You've had a history. I'm sure you know how many people died in Guru in the process. I have seen something being written, being broadcasted in the US by Al-Mahdi's son, that government designs to kill people, that Konye is a creation of government. Mr. Kamara, Konye cannot be a creation of government. Do you know how many forces we took on since the days of El Kodwar, Baramoyo? You know them. That cannot be. No one can have doctored Eric Baramoyo to attack government on behalf of government. So it's up to what you want to conceive, what you want to understand. My own view is that it's expensive to try these ventures. And you see, NRA rather, when we took up government, we took them up decisively. But should you want to really go into battle for 20 years and it fails and you want to try it again at the cost of our very productive, innocent people who I have served with, and I'm always very proud to be in northern Uganda. They like me, they recognize me as their own because we suffered it together. No one should repeat these exercises. And the other disarming thing is that these who are trying these military adventures are not even a person like Tumukunde. If I was to try it, you'd want it to take it serious. But some Secretary General of your party, if you want to take on these things, then take them with the sufficient competence that goes with it. Otherwise, you are necessarily causing losses of lives. And in any case, it gives us even difficulty on countering some of these people. Towards a properly armed group, you know what to do with them. But now, these are half-turned.
But you know for sure that at one point when you tried to express yourself and talk the way how things you saw them, with all respect, you had your fingers bent, and that caused you a lot of trouble. Not every person can express themselves. Some people have a lot of anger.
I didn't start war.
But that
actually, nobody was more qualified, Mr. Kamara, to start war. I was very qualified to start war. Yes, you know, it's in my means. But you know, Mr. Kamara, our people must be allowed to move on.
You know what I'm trying to remind you is that when you tried to express yourself, that caused you trouble. In fact, you put on house arrest.
I fought it out.
And this is the government that you're serving now.
Mr. Kamara, I fought it out. I needn't have included you, where especially you could lose your life. I fought it out. I went to court. That's what people do. Or for those others, you start a political party, you fight out. That's how democracy is framed. Because, I mean, how many other people? Look at Britain today. You know what is happening? They are moving out of, you think they should use arms and decide whether to stay in the European Union or come out. And there are very sharp contradictions in this matter. They are typical Britons who think remaining in the EU is denying them a lot of opportunities of employment, bringing in, influxes of what they call foreigners. You know, recently they killed a very innocent young MP because I think there are these kind of things. But my main question is, if you have your own political views, do you want to include other people, especially when it's at the cost of losing their lives? Yes, I fought it, but I fought it and actually I mobilized the people who come see me in prison. They came to see me during court sessions. I knew I had the option of considering starting maybe a rebellion in Rukunjiri, but first of all, it's expensive. Considering even so that when we put these people in all this, we don't even necessarily perform. So I advise our people not to go that direction.
We're going to take a break, General. When we come back, we'll try to find out on your ways on how you can fight criminality in Kampala and other bigger cities or towns of our country. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guest tonight is Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, Minister for Security. A recent report carried out by the Observer newspaper claims sections of police and CMI officers are responsible for most car thefts in the country. How are you going to fight this if some of these criminals have some kind of big godfathers? I was reading this report.
Well, First of all, Mr. Kamara, I'm not too sure that whatever observer reports is necessarily very true. That is number one. It's like any other newspaper. You pick facts. The difference between information and intelligence is that with information you are given the latitude of reporting some not necessarily substantiated issues. So when they say police and the military are godfathers, you know,
this story was actually authored by a member of the flying squad of the police. So
always there a difference.
It has an input for the security from the security
between
organization.
individuals and the profession they belong to. You, for example, cannot speak for all that the press represents. So sometimes these people fall off. And it's not the first time, Sakamara. From the day I arrived here to the day I was the chief of security and intelligence for very many years, to up to today, there's nothing new, Mr.
The
Kamara.
story has a stamp of the office of the flying squad of the police. So at least that gives it some kind of authenticity.
Yes, I'm not disputing the fact that some elements of the police or the army can do this. The most important thing is it's an individual act, deserving individual responsibility and deserving individual accountability. So it's not really that 100 troops have left Makinde barracks and attacked the Makinde suburbs in search of something or something. It's so different. And we've arrested very many people. The Benzes, you remember Benz who used to be an ADF and we had him here. Many. What is so special now? I keep wondering what is exciting people. What haven't we seen? But said and done, should it be that this is something new, our job is to fully investigate it. When I was coming here, somebody called me on phone, called Juku, that they have attacked. In fact, I have said that you could invite
Juku, yes.
Yes, that you could invite him here and we have this discussion in the open public. That they have attacked 20 installations, that they are
Human rights offices.
First of all, I don't know if you have as many as 20. If so, I don't know why. I don't know why human rights are. But said and done, for me, the bigger issue is it's appropriate to go and visit these places, take an investigation team, put scrutiny to all the facts, check the circumstances, and then come back and compile a report and use this report to solve the problem. That's why I keep telling people here, views in town here about maybe intelligence is absolutely necessary. Because intelligence leads to the proper conducting of operations. And intelligence is as old as the 13th century. So it's very important. So for me, I have told Mr. Juko that starting from Monday, and I should have done it yesterday, but I want to put together a proper investigative team. And I'm going to seek that we do this as a joint investigative. Maybe for
these
those you are choose.
These attacks
leave them out.
On human rights organizations, for example, like Hurinet, and then his organization, and the other, and just about 2 days ago, Refugee Law Project in Old Kampala. They have happened from 2014. For the last two years, they have been happening. So you can see 20, including 2 fatalities. Someone is killed on CCTV camera, and nothing has happened. And there are some people who are controlling.
Mr. Kamara, I give you my assurances. You see, that's why there is always renewal in situations. We are now here. And for all intents and purposes, I'm new, isn't it? Having been a veteran intelligence officer, that's another, I'm new. Monday or Sunday, if we can put together a team, we're going to do thorough investigation. If there's any CCTV record, we will track it. And I want to tell you, people will be apprehended, and you will hear clear court cases conducted on the matter. What I would want also to bring to your notice is that when one incident becomes 20, I think we are better off, and Mr. Kamara, I'm willing to come back here another round. I will give you screened, properly appreciated facts about what this could be. Should there be a CCTV caption, that is a start point for investigation. And I want to tell you, we are not going to leave any government official attacking somebody's office and the circumstances that his picture appears, and he will remain unapprehended and not prosecuted. That one will not happen. Certainly it will not happen when I'm a minister occupying this office. And I want to give you my assurances that we are going to have more smoother sharing of intelligence. I'm now discussing with my groups on things that we must take on, and very soon you'll hear action on the ground. The only thing I'm worried about is if courts will support us in this matter. As for apprehending, do not give it a lot of worry. We'll take it on. And I've told Mr. Juku, and he should count on my assurances that area by area, point by point, office by office, will screen this matter. And I will conduct, at least I will supervise the operation. If need be, I'll go physically there.
You promised not to rest on your laurels, to get rid of crime by, amongst other things, reviving the local council security networks. How do you intend to do that when they seem to have lost the passion, if I may use that word?
First of all, we are not going to allow designs that are similar and of some characteristics that relate to Mungikis. You know, Mungiki, this was a product of
you
some...
think of Njenga of
Yes, yes. You see, if you keep talking about violence when you are holding political forums, it's easy to connect violence to politics. So whoever, because I hear many names here, and in any case, I don't think there's anything more organized than what we combated here during the days of terrorism when people were dying on the streets. These
But you know, the accusations they are put on you, that some of the bombs actually that were being thrown on the streets of Kampala, said that is the work of Henry Tumukunde.
Mr. Kamara, it's like you are saying Eric Odwaro was deployed by government. I think we need to be really more serious.
I know, but
security is not partisan.
People have said it.
Security,
General, people have said it.
That we planted bombs.
Yes,
security,
that actually you planted bombs.
Security is not partisan. That's a very impressive speculation. Let me tell you one thing. Security is not partisan. In fact, in the briefings people get in some of these offices, the security ministry is given a completely different briefing. Security is not partisan. I don't think people who died in Nakuravie, where I was supposed to be bombing, were necessarily of any side. Actually, I lost 2 relatives in these bombings. So if you say I was the one planting bombs, that will waste our useful time now. Let's go to the current issues. We will not allow this kind of... Because the other day I was in a vehicle and I saw a white man being robbed a side mirror. And I went out, because we could not fire, there was a lot of many people moving. I was coming from the Entebbe side. But I took sides, got out of the car and asked the population. The population told me, this Banwe white touch face, meaning these are the faces. I said, hey, actually I hadn't given it a lot. Then I said, what is the face? said bano bavubuka manya bamu bali batya said hey. So on asking, these people know. They gave me 3 names. Actually, I have them in my notebook. They gave me 3 names. And with security, once the population, that's why I was going to, the point I want to make last. Once the population gives you 3 names, it means you can get 50. And you can get, and I will get them, I can assure you. That's why it is not appropriate. Because one of the sources, the critical sources of information, is the neighbor, the girlfriend, the wife, that circuit is where you get the most critical information. Do not run into these sophistications. Now, the population has always given us critical information. For me, I relied on them, and I'm going to rely on them again. We will get critical information. Those 3 names, be rest assured, unless they operate in terrorist syndicates, I am going to build on those 3 names. I will pull out face like lunch. Because that's a great start point. We will pick them. And I advised them to disengage. Because 3 names are more than enough. When we are tackling terrorism, we had a young man called Benon, who accidentally, dropped a grenade. And Wananchi arrested him. Now, on getting a small document from him, I could see he was being given money. And from then, I got another, easy. We started from there and pulled out all these terrorists.
Do you think the kind of support you had then, the population support, is the kind of support you'll have now?
Yeah. Can I tell you what I'm very sure about? The population will give you support, whether of different political views, if this matter disturbs their peace. Ugandans want to go to their nightclubs until, here, Kororo here, 7 in the morning. If it starts being clear that they are not going to have enough peace, I mean, they gave me information free. We'll get the support.
But what
and
is
it
the
is
cause
not true
that people reach to that level? They get radicalized. They are so desperate. Isn't it we have an economy that has pushed some people to the wall that you can pick these and others will spring up because they're desperate?
Do you want to tell me the economy of today is worse off than we had many years ago? I don't think people are desperate. In United Kingdom, in America, the fast lane economy of the world, people still commit crime. Is it about desperation? And I think, I don't know which spectrum of the politics you belong, and I don't want to guess. But why don't we also be very honest? Is Uganda worse off than it was many years ago? I don't think so. So desperation, I don't know. Maybe about
the other day during the
equilibrium.
Campaign, during the campaign, you could see. In fact, you got injured in the campaign. I saw an image in the newspaper in Fort Portal. I don't know whether that was just accidental or you just survived narrowly.
It was just a mishandled election. You see, the fundamentals of some of these things is organizing crime.
You see,
you can organize crime. You hear? You can organize crime for purposes of winning an election. You can do that.
But don't you see some kind of dysfunctional kind of system where a corporal or a warrant officer, class 1, is really shooting at a lieutenant general?
First of all, I don't know who shot. Whether it was a corporal or a general, I didn't check.
Maybe it was even an LOD.
I didn't check the rank or a crime preventer. You never know who shot. But you see, these are isolated incidents. And I can tell you, since then, we are following up on this matter and apprehending. I don't know if for all the people that are apprehended, they must broadcast it at the NTV station. But you see, said and done. Should you put gaps? Usually wrong people want to take advantage of them. We are having a cabinet meeting today. Of course, I can't tell you what happened at the cabinet meeting. But the most important point that you can pull out of all this, you go to churches. Now these days they tell you, banange newankubadde nti ffenna tuli bantu ba Katonda. Mwegendere ensawo zammwe. I mean, that is God's church. And they are telling you, be careful of your pockets and your purses and so on. In the same pattern, whenever there are gaps and lapses, you can get some of these incidents desperately organized by individuals in search of, for example, victory in an election. So, what is most important, Mr. Kamara, is how is this matter handled that it may not happen again? Because you talk about corruption, Mr. Kamara, and I've heard you are very competent self discussing all these issues. Corruption sometimes can go to bribing a police officer to maybe cause circumstances that are uneven on an election scene. Yes, the whole issue is, do we say there can't be corruption? Corruption can be there. The whole issue is it solvable? By the way, I want to tell you that there is a new situation coming up. I've never seen the president of Uganda coming out so clearly on some issues. One of them is impunity when you're occupying government offices and playing there and having cups of tea. I can tell you, it will not be easy. This is business unusual.
Business unusual.
In the same way.
We're going to take a break, General. When we come back, we'll also open the line so that you at home or wherever you are, you can pick a phone and contribute to this discussion or even ask General Tumukunde a question that you may be having. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guest tonight is Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, the Minister for Security. I want to know, because young people now all over the world, including Uganda, they joined terrorist organizations, and you wonder, what is it that is making young people get so much radicalized, the extent that they can even lose their lives? So what is the route that they can get to that extent?
First of all, caution is not a business for young people. I'm sure you know that. You know, one day, Mitara visited Sankara, and Sankara talked. And Mitara said, Excellence, in French. When I was your age...
Your Excellency.
Yeah. When I was your age, I spoke like you. I acted like you. I was that... but thank God I was not the president of France. So what am I saying? The decisions we made when we went to the bush that time can never be the decisions I would make today. So the targets of these terrorists, you know, I understand the subject very well. The targets of this terrorist organization is young people. Because young people are the ones who really can go for such adventures. However, what other dimension is important is that radicalism is a reality, Mr. Kamara. You know that. Yes, radicalism, and especially if properly doctored, properly, imparted, the theory of radical, if properly imparted, like in the case of the late Bin Laden, he really was methodical and, passed on this. I remember when we used to capture these people, they had teachings, they had about how the Islamic faith is being suppressed. I don't know. It can be appealing. It's like communism at one time was extremely very popular. You know that. We always felt proud being called communists. And I don't know whether we are communists enough, but we feel proud about it. So there is nothing unusual. This is a trend that can, but the only difference between what we've had before and what is special about radicalism is that as the world grows, people get more sophisticated. And the biggest factor now is social media. Social media communicates. The internet has allowed more easier communication, because those days you could mobilize on a TV, you could mobilize on a radio, maybe you had to seek permission to be there. Now you just get on your computer and pluck out a message and send it. So the circumstances have generally changed. The other factor, Mr. Kamara, is the mishandling of these operations. As I was telling you about Ugandans who storm into war without any preparations. I think some of the decisions, like the attack of Libya, was a wrong decision. If for no reason, but for the state of preparedness to sustain the implications of that attack, the lasting implications of that attack. If you attack a target, you must have properly estimated the kind of circumstances, the optional circumstances you are likely to suffer. And you must have them in your grip and control. Should you not, then you get the Libya situation. Same as Syria, same. So now what is new is, first of all, easier communication. What is new? More organized teachings and indoctrination. But what is most new is the easier way of communicating any view today. So for me, that roughly accounts for, the circumstances looking slightly more peculiar than we've had them before.
Your security organs within Uganda working really together, because what we pick on the pulse of the city will indicate that there's a rivalry between the Minister for Security, this is internal security, there's the IGP, the coordination is not there, and the sharing of intelligence.
But I became a minister yesterday, Mr. Kamara, so I don't think I fall into line upon the factors that can describe this harmony. Let me ease in it. Interagency relations are very important. First of all, our specialties are different. Police is a certain specialty. The army is a certain specialty. Actually, you didn't allow me to come with your notes, with my notes. I could have read you what defense means, what security means, what intelligence means. For example, intelligence is not exactly what people mistake it for, as being espionage. So, what am I saying? In your specialty, it is in your interest to communicate and transact in exchanging information.
That's the ideal, but...
It is the ideal, and I can tell you...
But there's infighting in this
time. Anyone who tries it will always collapse with it. Haven't you seen people waging war between each other, especially... Yes, and they don't go very far. This is what I think myself. First of all, I'm too new to comment on the subject. You are making me wash the linen that I'm so innocent about its nature and that. I also imagine that the population would want to see these rivalries amplified, for reasons I never get to understand. But should it be true that anyone wants to stand high against others, I give you one assurance, they will always collapse and find themselves at the same level with those they purported to have defeated. Because we serve the same system, we serve the same people. And there's something our most critical players always divorce from their own minds. We serve the population of Uganda with the different political shades. And we serve the people. For me, wherever I am, I always list it number one. Who am I serving? The people of Uganda. Whose interest is this? Uganda's interest. Actually, I wish I could quote some of my extracts. It is advised that you always stand firm when you are an intelligence officer reporting on a matter. It does not even matter whether your boss understands you or perceives you as you so wish. Because with time, history will judge you right and will judge him harshly. And I would want to advise...
But you have you have a history of that. You know, at one time you stood and spoke in the media house and probably you spoke right and that didn't go right well with you.
Yes.
And that caused you a lot of
what
trouble.
Are today's
that caused you a lot of trouble.
What are today's circumstances?
You're a minister.
Yes. It answers your question.
Well, okay.
In short, you can be... Yeah.
This is it now?
That does not disqualify my principle.
Let me now, since you serve the people of Uganda and the people of Uganda are calling, so let me invite the callers so that we can hear one by one. Please make it precise and concise and tell us your name and where you're calling from. Let me pick the very first caller online. Hello. Hello.
Yes, good evening, Brother Kamara. How are you?
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
And good evening to Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
pleasure.
Nyombi Richard Viemaro.
Yes, Richard.
First of all, Honorable Minister General Tumukunde.
Let me ask my producer to turn up the volume a little bit.
Okay.
Let
me first congratulate Lieutenant General Tumukunde upon being appointed as a security minister. To your attention, first of all, I would like to inform you that the Uganda police has resorted to using some of the Kifesi group people who put on masks, go on beating people on streets whenever Dr. Kiza Besigye is at town. You should take note of that and deal with it. Now, another thing, yes, in the just concluded youth election, Mr. Tumukunde, you were hit by what the police said it was a tear gas canister while causing chaos after your son was in the elections. Why did you claim that you were hit by a bullet, yet the police were contradicting your statements that you were hit by a tear gas canister?
Okay. Okay, Richard, you've made your point, those 2 points. Let's us take other callers. He will be responding to your views, to your questions. Let me take another call online. Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir. What's your name? Hello. Hello. Let me take another caller.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name?
Good evening, sir. My name is Lubwama from Chanika.
Lubwama.
Lubwama from Chanika Kabila.
Okay, Kalilo, you're on the air, sir.
I ask you...
Oh, sorry, Lubwama. You didn't conclude your question. Maybe you ran out of airtime. Sorry about that. Let me take another call. I'll take 2 more or 3. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm David calling from Yambio, South Sudan.
Yambio, South Sudan?
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Kala.
Good evening.
I want to thank you for your presentation tonight. I appreciate that you've given the Lieutenant General appropriate time to express himself. And let me congratulate him for his victory, let me call it. But I ask him to not promise much, because this is what will ask him when he fails to deliver what he's promising.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. David in Yambio, South Sudan. That's interesting. Let's take another caller online. Hello. 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 Okay. The general understands Luganda well, more than I
Yes,
do.
I do.
So you could speak, sir.
Hello. This is Patrick from Toroko.
Patrick in Toroko. Okay, you're on air.
I'm just want just to inform Honorable that his gifts are driving the poorest motorcycles and
His gistros are driving the poorest motorcycles, something like that. Okay. I hope that's what you said. The very last call online. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Brian calling in from Bugolobi.
Brian in Bugolobi, it's your time now. Tell us what you have to say.
Thank you for the program. Now, I want to talk about these goods that police uses. For example, at police post on Old Park, that is Kisansa. Then around the Clock Towers police post, these guys, at times, they take advantage of the yellow t-shirts of a party. And they rise people mostly in the evenings and in dark corners. So I found to take note of that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe if you still remember the questions, I do remember some of them. You could start with from the bottom of the last. Maybe.
First of all, if you can remind me in case I go wrong, they are saying these Chifesi have got connections with the police.
Yeah. That they will have hooded guys who join the police and carry out operations, especially when they want to deny Dr. Besje to go places.
Let me tell you, it does not matter who is in front or behind each face. We shall get them, they will tell me who is in front, they will tell us who is in front or behind them. If it is anybody that serves with the government, he will be categorically treated as a criminal for aiding a criminal. The law is very clear. So, for me, I don't want to spend a lot of time discussing who is behind each face. I have got starter points, 3 names, and I have sent some people ready to go and check for me some area. You see, people are giving, like you are hearing, they are already giving us information. They call me from nowhere. They say, I found it here and here. There is a face you can see. I can use this answer, the one who's telling me yellow T-shirts on a certain start points. Now, as to who is behind them, for me, it's not very important. What we are also going to, we are going to seek special authority from the authorities that anyone we hold, which we did with terrorism, anyone we hold, there shouldn't be anybody pleading for them or anything. They have to go through the processes of interrogation, investigation, and be prosecuted appropriately. That's how we eradicated terrorism. As for who is behind, there are even big men we left here in Kampala who were behind the terrorists. But we knew we had disarmed them. Yes, the material they used to cause violence, we extracted them. For them, they remain there. And some of them, I called them and told them we know them, including a very senior police officer who was involved in
that is a warning or intimidation?
Well,
or both of them.
Give it any form. For us who is behind, we will not waste our time, Mr. Kamara. Now, the shooting about whether it was a canister or
a bullet,
Mr. Kamara, I've been at this for a very long time. I'm not even one of those who are in the bush providing political work. No, I am a gazetted fighter. If I know nothing, and I heard this from some military officer who was saying that I have forgotten. I don't spend a lot of time in those kind of things, Mr. Kamara. I know the difference between a bullet and a canister. So let's not waste time on that. Now, don't promise too much, because when you fail, we shall be asking you, this is negative. because it's not the first time we've promised things. We've promised them and we've done them. And when we don't do it as well, we've got the courtesy to apologize to the public. We are not holding
That's your safety valve now.
Yes, we've got the courtesy to apologize to the public. But let me also tell you, if I don't do it, somebody will do it. Don't have to. That's why even when I hear police and so on, that's why we are different agencies. Now, there's another point, I think, from Toroko. GISOs, well, sometimes it's about priorities, Mr. Kamara. GISOs will be taken care of. And I can assure you, I send them my assurances that we are having incredible cooperation from, first of all, Parliament, which is very, very impressive. We are having incredible cooperation from the Cabinet. Even, it's very good. And we've got incredible support from the head of state.
Let me ask something that maybe my second last question. The politics in Rukungiri, people think the leaving the General Jimmy Wezi out of the politics. In fact, others have come to complain that, look, our son is not eating. And did Rukungiri get a fair deal or not?
Well, I can tell you nobody gets a fair deal in the distribution. Otherwise, you'd have 1,000 ministers. What I can also tell you is that Rukungiri has a minister. He's called Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde.
But then, well, how come they are not celebrating, but they are only saying, look, we have lost?
You want me to go and test celebration?
Well, I saw a delegation.
Come with
I've
me.
heard of a delegation that wants to petition the president.
How many delegations? One came from your area, Fort Potro. I don't know, it was disputing if you are hungry. You see, we all contribute in very many ways. And it doesn't mean that, when I'm serving, then nobody is serving. That's very unfair. I'm competent. I represented that general area in CA, you know very well. I won that election decisively against very, very competent candidates. I live in Rukungiri. I have a very established home there. And as to whether I am popular there or whether people think, give it time. You want to come with me one of these days?
No,
I'm going there.
I thought maybe there wouldn't be the kind of delegation that was like our son is not eating and Rukungiri is not eating.
Where a delegation came from Port Potro, Do you know how many ministers Port Potro got? Attorney General, Minister of Defense, Minister of Local Government, and still people were saying we are not represented. Huo kwa Kiswahili wanaita mchezo. Me in Rukungiri, let me tell you, I could be single and self. You'll find it sufficient representation.
Well,
fact,
it's not about the numbers. It's not about the people.
Yes.
It's not about the numbers anyway.
All,
it's about the delivery of service to the people.
It could also about your capacity to negotiate services for them, capacity to meet. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'll be checking on Rukungiri. So don't.
In the next 100 days, my last, what should we expect of you?
In the next 100 days, sometimes the biggest problem with the Ugandans, this is security really. Then you give 100 days. It's not like Obama's 100 days in office. But anyway, said and done. I give it a full shot. Yeah, even now I was coming from office and I'm going back to office.
What?
Yeah, that's, as you know, it's not a claim. So, and we are networking. We have talked to so many of the DSOs. We are having meetings, marathon with our commanders of the different intelligence agencies. We have now done harmonization meetings. We are exchanging intelligence. We are on ground. I can assure you, I don't want to fall into the trap of my friend who said that I'll be here giving excuses. We are not going to give excuses.
Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, thank you very much.
Honored, Mr. Kamara, and thank you for inviting me here. But maybe I should conclude by what I started with. Intelligence is not done on NTV, not on TV screens. So I hope you'll understand if I don't find enough time to come here quite often.
Thank
we
you.
want to be modest and conduct this business as it is supposed to be.
Thank you very much. You have heard him. He has made some big statements, also maybe set some goals, and he seems to be focused on what he wants to do. And you can wait. We want a peaceful Uganda because it's good for all of us. Good night, and God bless Uganda.
Thank you for listening to us. It's
Thank
our
you.
honor.